The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. I can't believe it's over. So this is the last installment in the Hunger Games movie series, and myself being an enormous Hunger Games fan, as you can see behind me, I'm really sad that it's over. So this movie being the finale, this is the one where it's going to ascend to a full-scale war. It's finally time for Katniss Everdeen and the crew of rebels to take on the Capitol. And this really does feel like a continuation of Part 1. Like I said, Mockingjay is one movie that was split into 2 films. So Part 2 picks up immediately right where Part 1 left off. And it just goes from there and tells the rest of the story. The acting and the characters are still awesome in this movie as they've always been throughout the entire series. Jennifer Lawrence is like one of my favorite actresses at this point, and her performance in this movie really hit me. Really good, deep, emotional shit. Same thing goes with everyone else. Gale delivers some really dramatic moments in this film, Peeta does as well, and Donald Sutherland as President Snow, oh my god, I love him so much in these movies. He just plays such a great villain. Everyone just gives it their all in this movie, and it's really easy to see. It's right in front of your face. Now myself being a big Hunger Games fan and this being the finale of it all, I couldn't help but just feel scared throughout the entire film for these characters. There is so much tension in these scenes, you just don't know what's gonna happen, which is necessary for a big finale movie like this. Because this is the movie where the Capitol is like, okay, we are just going to kill these rebels, we're just gonna get this done and over with. We gotta get rid of these guys. So when these rebels are storming the Capitol, they're running into traps all over the place, and you just don't know where they are, so you really feel that tension. And a lot of that is because of your attachment to these characters. If you've kept up with the Hunger Games movies, then you have grown pretty attached to a lot of the characters in the films. Not just Katniss, obviously, but you know, Peeta, Gale, and Primrose, Katniss's little sister. Every time they're in danger, you're like, oh god! Which leads to some pretty shocking moments in this movie. It reminded me of when I read Deathly Hallows for the first time. I was like, oh my god, what the fuck just happened? And as I've been saying, it's because this is the finale, so big shit needs to happen. That's just how finales are. And thank God, because they nailed the finale vibe right. You know how I said Mockingjay Part 1 was like Deathly Hallows Part 1? In the same way, Mockingjay Part 2 is like Deathly Hallows Part 2, not just because it's a big war, but because of the big shocking moments that you could not see coming if you didn't read the books. And it was pretty awesome. But it was awesome in the sense that I wasn't like, yay, this is happening. The main thing I took away from this movie is that war sucks. Like, really sucks. You see these big battlefields and people just start dropping like flies to the ground. You can't help but be like, oh my god, this is terrible. And yep, I teared up quite a few times throughout this film. I can't help it, I'm a Hunger Games fanboy and I really like these movies. I'm really attached to these characters, what can I say? I just can't believe it's all over. And the score to this movie was great. I'm so glad James Newton Howard scored all these films. I mean, it's some of his best work. And I've been wondering why there's been no official soundtrack for this movie. You know how each of these movies have had a song, you know, for the credits? When the credits start rolling in this movie, you'll see why they didn't release a soundtrack before the film. The reason is actually a spoiler, so I'm not gonna say anything. I'm pretty sure they'll release a soundtrack after the film's release date. And yeah, I will be making a spoiler talk video for this movie, of course. So Mockingjay Part 2 had solid acting. It was a great conclusion to one of my favorite movie series right now. The story had twists and turns, the likes of which I did not see coming, because I haven't read this baby yet. I'm about to though. I know you saw this coming, but I will say, go see this movie right now. I still can't believe it. It's the end of an era. I've actually not been getting the movies on Blu-ray. I got the first one on Blu-ray, but I didn't get Catching Fire. I didn't get Mockingjay Part 1, because when this one comes out on Blu-ray, I'm getting the box set. So The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe. Now, if you'll excuse me. Oh yeah,